The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it.
Have you ever wondered why, even though you pray, believe, work hard and do everything right, prosperity still seems to avoid your door? Or maybe when it does show up, it comes with a strange weight, anxiety that keeps you up at night, a constant fear of losing it all, and even a silent guilt you can't quite explain. Is it really possible to live a prosperous, abundant, wealthy life, but with peace of mind, with the certainty that this prosperity came from a clean, honest, and most importantly, blessed source? If you've ever felt this, stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might literally flip a switch in your mind, your spirit, and your financial life. And no, this isn't some empty motivational talk or a magic formula. It's about accessing a powerful truth that maybe no one has ever explained to you this clearly. A truth directly connected to Proverbs 10:22. The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. You see, there's a hidden reason why so many people chase wealth, success, financial freedom, but even when they get it, they don't feel fulfilled. It's like something is always missing. Maybe you know someone like that. Or maybe you're living that exact experience right now. That feeling that no matter how hard you work, how much you focus on a positive mindset, affirmations, learning, hustling, the results never come as fast as you hoped. And when they do, that inner voice creeps in asking, do I really deserve this? Does God really want me to prosper? The craziest part is, this battle isn't just external. It's a silent war happening inside the mind and heart. A war between your desire to prosper and those old limiting beliefs planted deep within. Maybe in childhood, maybe by society, by culture, or even worse, by distorted spiritual teachings. Phrases like, money is the root of all evil, rich people don't go to heaven, or if I get rich, I'll lose my spirituality, keep looping in your head, sabotaging you without you even realizing it. And here's the real problem. As long as these beliefs are taking up space in your mind, no financial strategy, no prosperity method, no mindset book, none of it will fully work. Because deep down, something keeps pulling you back. A voice whispering, hey, don't go that far, this isn't meant for you. And that's when you find yourself stuck in the cycle. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, slowly draining your energy, your motivation, your faith, and even your hope. But here's a truth that very few dare to say. Prosperity is not a sin. Prosperity is not luck. Prosperity is not a privilege for a few. Prosperity is a spiritual principle. And Proverbs 10:22 makes it crystal clear. The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. In other words, it is absolutely possible to attract wealth, abundance, and success without guilt, without fear, and without anxiety. Because when prosperity is aligned with God's blessing and the right principles, it comes with peace, balance, purpose, and joy. And the most powerful part is that this principle isn't just for people who live isolated in spirituality, nor only for those obsessed with productivity and discipline. It works for anyone who understands the perfect connection between faith, discipline, a positive mindset, and action. It's about aligning the spiritual world with the practical world. And when that happens, my friend, transformation becomes inevitable. In fact, have you ever stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, the only thing standing between you and that prosperous, abundant, fulfilled life you've been praying for isn't a lack of effort? It's not a lack of faith, and it's definitely not a lack of talent. Maybe it's just one key that hasn't been turned yet. A key that, once you understand and apply, will open doors that have felt locked for years. And it's exactly about that key that we're going to start talking about right now. And you know, as I'm saying all of this, maybe something deep inside you is already starting to click. Maybe for the first time you're realizing that, yes, There is a path to prosperity that doesn't make you feel guilty, overwhelmed, or anxious. A path where abundance shows up and stays because it doesn't come only from human effort, but from blessing. From that blessing, Proverbs 10:22 describes so powerfully, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it." And listen, if this is resonating with you right now, do something powerful. Drop a comment below with this declaration: "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth into my life without pain." Or write it in your own words, in whatever way feels right to your heart. Because when you type it out, you're not just affirming it to the universe, to your mind and to your spirit. You're also planting this truth deep within yourself. And more than that, you're helping spread this energy, this transformation to so many others. Because yes, your comment has power. It's not just words on a screen, it's a seed of faith, prosperity, and transformation that you're planting both in your own life and in the lives of everyone who reads it. And since we're in this powerful moment of connection, if this message is speaking to you, if you feel that this is the kind of conversation the world needs more of, then go ahead and hit that like button. Seriously, it may seem like a small thing, but when you do, YouTube understands that this content has value, that it changes lives, that it needs to be delivered to more people who, just like you, are searching for prosperity, faith, and freedom. And of course, if you're new here, or if you've been watching but haven't subscribed yet, this is the perfect time to do it. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I promise you, here, every single week, you'll find content that will help you unlock your mindset, strengthen your faith, build discipline, and most importantly, understand that prosperity is your spiritual right. And when you subscribe, you're not just getting videos, you're joining a growing community. A community that supports each other, grows together, transforms together, and truly believes that the blessing of the Lord brings wealth and without pain. Your presence here is what keeps this channel alive, growing, and reaching more and more. People who, just like you, are ready to turn the key from scarcity to abundance, from anxiety to peace, from fear to conscious prosperity. And together, we go so much further on this journey. And believe me, this is just the beginning. Because now, I want to show you something that almost no one talks about. Something that completely changes everything when it comes to living in prosperity without guilt, without fear, and without heaviness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because there's a hidden truth that, if you don't understand it, will keep you stuck in an almost invisible cycle, a cycle that sabotages your results, blocks your prosperity, and worse, makes you believe that wealth isn't meant for you. And listen, this doesn't happen because you lack talent, effort, or faith. It happens because of a silent poison that gets planted in your mind very early on. A poison called a limiting belief. You know those phrases you've heard for years, sometimes inside your own home, at school, in church, or from society. Phrases like, "Money is the root of all evil," "Poor but honest," "Rich people don't go to heaven," or "If God wants, maybe one day I'll get better." Yeah, all of that slowly slipped into the background of your mind without you even noticing. And today, without fully understanding why, you feel uncomfortable just thinking about truly making money. And when you actually start prospering, here it comes, that heavy feeling, that overwhelming fear of losing it all, that silent guilt whispering, "Am I betraying my values?" But let me tell you something that almost nobody talks about. The Bible never said money is bad. What it actually says in 1 Timothy 6:10 is the love of money is the root of all evil. The problem has never been money itself. The problem is when people put money above everything, above faith, above their principles, above spirituality, above character. And if you really look closely, Proverbs 10:22 makes this even clearer. The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. You see the difference? It's not about getting rich at any cost. It's about prospering with purpose, aligned with blessing, with principles, and with truth. And Napoleon Hill said exactly the same thing in his book, Think and Grow Rich. He teaches that wealth starts in the mind, in thought, in belief, in faith, combined with disciplined action. Hill made it crystal clear. One of the biggest blocks stopping people from achieving prosperity is exactly this mental confusion, that inner conflict between wanting money and simultaneously believing that it's wrong, dirty, or somehow incompatible with spirituality. And here's a truth that can completely shift your reality. Prosperity is not an event. Prosperity is a decision, mental, spiritual, and practical. It's when you understand that being prosperous is not a sin, it's not wrong, and it doesn't separate you from God. In fact, it's the opposite. Psalm 35:27 says, "Let the Lord be magnified, who delights in the prosperity of his servant." Think about that for a second. God rejoices in your prosperity. But you know what the real problem is? Your mind doesn't rejoice in it, because it was trained to believe the opposite. And that's when you fall into that exhausting cycle. You want to prosper, you pray, you study, you work hard. But deep down, something holds you back. It's like driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake, and guess what? It drains you, it wears you out, it makes you believe prosperity is for others, not for you. Slowly, you start accepting a mediocre life, full of limitations, convincing yourself that maybe this is just how life is. But let me be clear, it's not. If Napoleon Hill taught us one powerful truth, it's this: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. This isn't just a nice quote. This is a law, a universal truth, a key that, once you truly understand it, unlocks an entirely new reality. And when you combine that mindset with spiritual principles, the game changes. It's no longer a fight. It's no longer heavy. It becomes flow. And this is exactly where most people get lost, because they don't know how to align the spiritual world with the material world. So, if this message is hitting you right now, drop this powerful declaration in the comments. I break this cycle in my life. Say it with intention, with strength, because just by declaring it, you're already sending a clear signal to your brain, to the universe, and most importantly, to your own faith that you are ready for this transformation. And hold on tight, because now I'm about to show you exactly how this key starts turning for real in your life. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because there's a powerful revelation that most people ignore, simply because they've never stopped to look at it closely. And when you finally understand it, everything starts to make sense. It's like you've been trying to complete a puzzle, but one essential piece was missing. And you know what that piece is? It's understanding that prosperity isn't just about working hard. It's not just about repeating affirmations, and it's not only about having faith. True prosperity is the perfect alignment between spiritual principles, mindset, and intentional action. It's about living in harmony with a truth that's right in front of you. But strangely enough, almost no one really sees. When Proverbs 10:22 says, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth, without painful toil for it," that's not a metaphor. It's not poetry. It's a spiritual law, real, practical, and applicable. The prosperity that comes from blessing doesn't bring weight, guilt, or that constant fear of losing everything. It comes wrapped in peace, lightness, and balance. It's completely different from the false prosperity the world tries to sell, the kind that comes with a heavy price, where someone may gain financial wealth but lose their health, their family, or even their soul along the way. And once again, the Bible is crystal clear. Mark 8:36 asks, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul. Do you see how deep this really is? Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich warned about this exact same thing, even though he was speaking to an audience that wasn't always connected to spirituality. He taught that wealth isn't just about money. It's a mental state, a vibration, an inner alignment. Hill emphasized the power of faith, not just religious faith, but an unshakable conviction, an absolute certainty that what you desire is possible and will come to pass. And look how this directly connects with Hebrews 11:1, which defines faith as the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. In other words, Hill and the Bible are speaking the same language about a universal, spiritual, and mental law that governs prosperity. But here's a truth that for many is still uncomfortable to face. As long as you believe that prosperity is something separate from spirituality, you'll continue living in inner conflict. Because deep down, your mind wants to grow, wants to prosper, wants to live an abundant life. But there's that little whisper inside saying, maybe this isn't right. Maybe God doesn't want me to have this much. Maybe I have to choose between being spiritual or being wealthy. And honestly, that's a lie created often by generations of misinterpretation, by teachings that failed to understand that God is a God of abundance, of growth, and of expansion. Psalm 23:1 makes this clear and powerful. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. It doesn't say I lack almost nothing, or just the basics. It says nothing. And this isn't about greed. It's not about showing off. It's about living in the natural flow of creation, where abundance is part of your identity. It's not an exception. It's not luck. And this is exactly the key Napoleon Hill also gives when he talks about the power of a burning desire, of clear purpose, and of active faith. When you combine this with spiritual principles, you realize that prosperity is not a privilege. It's a consequence of alignment. And the most powerful realization is this. Once this clicks for you, everything starts to shift. You begin to look at your own journey with completely new eyes. You realize you no longer have to choose between growing financially and staying spiritually connected. Because the truth is, the more you connect with your essence, with your purpose, and with God's blessing, the more you prosper. And even more, you realize that this prosperity isn't just for you. It's meant to overflow. It's meant to impact others. It's meant to bless lives beyond your own. Now, if this resonates deep inside you, drop this in the comments right now. The blessing opens my path to true prosperity. Because when you declare this, you start making space within yourself for this transformation to happen. And from here on, we're going even deeper into this truth. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because there's a powerful connection, almost magical yet absolutely real, between the spiritual principles revealed in the Bible and the foundations of a prosperous mind that Napoleon Hill taught with such mastery. And when you truly understand this connection, something shifts, something unlocks. It's like you finally start to see behind the scenes of how prosperity really works, not just in the physical realm, but also in the spiritual and mental. Napoleon Hill made it crystal clear that faith is not some abstract concept or passive belief. For him, faith is an active force, an energy that must be aligned with a clear purpose, constant discipline, and of course, intentional daily action. And here's the amazing part, the Bible confirms this exact truth in James 2:26, which says, faith without works is dead. In other words, it's not enough to just believe, pray, and wait for things to change if you're not willing to take aligned, intentional action, grounded in purpose and in the principles that create true prosperity. And here's a key that makes all the difference in this journey. Hill teaches that it all starts in your mind. You must first have absolute clarity about what you truly want. And this isn't just about wanting more money. It's about having a greater purpose, something that drives you, inspires you, and connects directly to your mission in this world. And the Bible confirms this in Habakkuk 2:2, which says, "Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so that he may run who reads it." You see, clarity of purpose isn't just a good idea. It's a spiritual and mental principle for anyone serious about transforming their reality. And here comes a revelation that so many people simply ignore. If you don't define with crystal clarity what your true desire is, what your purpose is, you end up living at the mercy of circumstances. Life pushes you wherever it wants. And guess what? Prosperity doesn't live in the territory of doubt, confusion, or uncertainty. Prosperity is born in the territory of decision, clarity, and unshakable conviction. This isn't just personal development. This is applied spirituality. When you read Proverbs 16:3, it couldn't be clearer. Commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will succeed. This means there absolutely is a divine partnership in this process. You set your intention, take disciplined and faithful action, and God does his part, opening doors, aligning opportunities, and pouring out the blessing that brings wealth without sorrow. It's a perfect equation of mind, spirit, and action. Napoleon Hill reinforces this when he talks about discipline, because wanting isn't enough, believing isn't enough. It's daily discipline, that commitment to small, consistent actions, that makes all the difference. Hill explains that without discipline, even the strongest desire fades, faith weakens, and purpose gets lost along the way. And look how perfectly this connects with Galatians 6:9. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. It's about not quitting, not getting distracted, and not sabotaging yourself. This combination, purpose, faith, discipline, and action, creates a magnetic field around you. And when you're truly aligned, you don't chase prosperity. Prosperity starts chasing you. Opportunities appear, doors open, and even what once seemed impossible begins to mysteriously align. But this isn't luck. It's not random. It's the direct result of the alignment between the spiritual principles of the Bible and the universal laws that Napoleon Hill decoded so well. So, if this is hitting deep inside you right now, type this in the comments with strength and intention. I choose to live with purpose, discipline, and faith, because only those who declare this with intention start building the transformation they've been searching for. And from here, there's something even more powerful I need to reveal to you. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because this is exactly where so many people get lost on their journey to prosperity. There's a hidden truth that once you understand it, flips a switch in your mind, a switch that never turns off again. And this truth is simple, yet unbelievably powerful. Wealth without guilt, without heaviness, without fear, is built on 3 non-negotiable pillars. And no, these aren't magic formulas or shortcuts. They are eternal principles, proven both by scripture and by the greatest minds in prosperity, like Napoleon Hill. The first pillar is the right mindset. And without this, nothing, absolutely nothing, works. As long as you're operating from a mindset of scarcity, carrying beliefs like money is dirty, if I prosper I'll drift away from God, or I wasn't born to be wealthy, you will sabotage yourself. You'll start and stop. You'll grow, then suddenly fall back, because your mind cannot accept what it doesn't believe you deserve. And listen to how powerful this is. The Bible is clear in Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. In other words, there is no transformation without first breaking the mental chains that keep you stuck in your old reality. And that's exactly what Napoleon Hill discovered after studying hundreds of successful people around the world. He realized that wealth, before it's money in your pocket, is money in your mind. It's a mental state, a frequency, an internal decision to no longer accept living below what God designed for you. Because yes, God did not create you for scarcity, constant struggle, or barely getting by. Philippians 4:19 confirms it. My God will supply all your needs according to His riches in glory by Christ Jesus. Do you see? It's written, it's already released. The only thing left is for your mind to accept it. The second pillar is active faith. And this isn't just about believing, it's about believing, acting, and trusting, all at the same time. Napoleon Hill made this crystal clear when he said, "Faith is the eternal elixir that gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought." This isn't just a beautiful quote, it's a revelation of how the spiritual universe responds to our intentions. And Hebrews 11:6 leaves no doubt, without faith it is impossible to please God. And faith in this context is not just believing in God, it's believing that God wants you to prosper, that He has already released the blessing, and that when you move in the right direction, doors will open, not by magic, but as a spiritual consequence of being aligned. And the third pillar, the one that holds it all together, is discipline with purpose. Without it, even the strongest desire fades, even the strongest faith weakens, even the most trained mindset loses power. Napoleon Hill talks about this constantly. Without self-discipline, no plan survives. And the Bible reinforces this truth in Proverbs 13:4. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. Look how deep this is. Wishing isn't enough. Praying isn't enough. Discipline is what transforms the invisible into the visible, the spiritual into the physical, the dream into reality. And maybe now you're starting to understand why, until today, certain things just haven't flowed in your life. It's not because God forgot about you. It's not because you don't deserve it. It's because, without realizing it, you've been trying to build prosperity without aligning these three pillars. And when they're out of balance, life turns into that exhausting cycle. You get excited, then lose motivation. You start, then stop. You feel faith, then doubt creeps in, and it drains you. It confuses you. It makes you believe that maybe prosperity just isn't for you, but it is. And here's an invitation to lock this truth deep inside you. Type this powerful declaration in the comments right now. I build my wealth with faith, discipline, and a prosperous mindset. Hold on to this, because from this point forward, we're going to learn how to turn these pillars into daily, practical, and permanent transformation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because honestly, there's no way to talk about transformation, prosperity, and building wealth without guilt unless I tell you how all of this stopped being just theory and became a real, tangible experience in my own life. And honestly, you might see yourself in every part of this journey, because just like you, I've been exactly in that place of internal conflict, that place where your mind wants to grow, wants to prosper, but something inside pulls you back. Like there's an invisible force whispering, "Careful, this isn't for you. If you prosper too much, you might drift away from God. Stay in your safe zone." For a long time, I lived in that battle. On one side, my faith told me that God is a God of abundance, that Proverbs 10:22 isn't in the Bible by accident. The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. But on the other side, my mind, full of old programming, kept making me believe that maybe it was wrong to want more, to achieve more, to prosper beyond just the basics. And what would happen every time I took a big step toward my own prosperity? That same old feeling of guilt would show up. That overwhelming fear, that inner voice whispering that if I went too far, something bad might happen. It was only when I fully immersed myself in the principles taught by Napoleon Hill, combined with the truth of God's Word, that I finally began to see what was really happening. Hill was laser-focused when he revealed, Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But in order for that to become real, I first had to clear the ground. I had to break the chains of the limiting beliefs that were holding me captive. I had to strengthen my faith, not as something passive, but as an active force pushing me forward. And most importantly, I had to develop a daily discipline, non-negotiable, that kept me fully aligned with my purpose. And you know, it all started in a very simple, yet incredibly powerful way. I remember a time when my financial life felt like complete chaos, debt, anxiety, that constant feeling of always running, but never arriving. That's when I made a decision. I grabbed a notebook, wrote down my goals, exactly like it says in Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision and make it plain. And I started practicing every single day the principles that Napoleon Hill teaches: affirmations, visualization, applied faith, discipline in small daily actions, and above all, total trust in the promise of Philippians 4:19. My God will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory. At first, the signs were almost invisible, but little by little, I started noticing tiny doors opening, the right people crossing my path, opportunities showing up where before I only saw problems. And slowly, that anxiety started turning into peace. That fear of prospering transformed into gratitude, into lightness. Because I finally understood that prosperity, when it comes from blessing, doesn't steal your peace. It doesn't pull you away from God. It actually brings you closer to him, because you become a channel of transformation, of impact, of abundance that overflows into your life and into the lives of everyone around you. And listen, don't think this was luck. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't some isolated miracle. It was alignment. It was the understanding that the spiritual, mental, and physical worlds work together when you activate the right principles. And this isn't just for me, this is for anyone who's willing to break free from old patterns and finally step into their role as co-creator of their own reality alongside God. So if this is making sense to you right now, type this in the comments with intention and conviction. I am a channel of prosperity that flows from the blessing, because it's exactly when you declare this that your journey starts taking a new direction. And from here, there's an even more powerful revelation that needs to come to light. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because it simply doesn't make sense for us to talk about transformation, about a prosperous mindset, about activating the blessing that brings wealth. Like Proverbs 10:22 teaches, the blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. If that doesn't translate into practice, into movement, into real concrete action. And this is exactly where one of the greatest secrets Napoleon Hill revealed comes into play. There is no prosperity without a real commitment to small, daily actions. Actions aligned with faith and with a clear purpose. This alignment is what takes you out of the field of intention and moves you into the field of manifestation. And honestly, this might be the exact point where so many people get stuck. Because believing is easy, wishing is easy, but when it comes to daily discipline, to consistent steps, that's where the game starts separating those who truly want transformation from those who are just waiting, hoping, expecting. And I had to break through so much internal resistance to understand this truth. God does his part, but he expects me to move, to act, to manifest here in the physical, the faith I already carry in the spiritual. And this isn't just theory. This isn't just feel-good philosophy. This is a spiritual principle in action. The Bible is crystal clear in James 2:17 when it says, faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. In other words, it doesn't matter how much faith you say you have. If that faith doesn't translate into aligned action, it's useless. And Napoleon Hill says the exact same thing when he declares, action is the real measure of faith, because those who truly believe act. Those who truly trust, move. People with conviction don't wait. They don't procrastinate. They don't put it off until later. So, right now, in this exact moment, I want to challenge you with an exercise. And this isn't just some random task. It's a commitment to yourself, to your journey, and to your transformation. Grab a piece of paper, a notebook, or even open the Notes app on your phone and write down, with absolute clarity, what is your biggest financial goal today? And don't be vague, like, I want to make more money. No, be specific, be honest, be direct. What exactly do you want? Pay off your debts? Achieve financial freedom? Build an emergency fund? Start a business? Scale your current business? Whatever it is, write it down. And once you've done that, write down exactly three, small actions that you can start today. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not next month. Today. Simple, practical, realistic actions fully aligned with your faith, your purpose, and the decision you just made. And here's the key. It doesn't have to be anything massive. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Because as Zechariah 4:10 reminds us, do not despise these small beginnings. It's in the small, the simple, the seemingly insignificant that big movements begin. That's exactly how I started turning my life around, writing my goals, mapping out my steps, committing to my discipline, and most importantly, surrendering every detail into God's hands, fully trusting in the promise of Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And listen, it's not about perfection. It's not about never messing up. It's about consistency. It's about waking up every single day, looking at your purpose and declaring, I choose to live aligned with the blessing. I choose to act in the direction of my prosperity. And if this makes sense to you, if something inside you is clicking right now, type this in the comments. I act with faith and purpose every day. Because it's exactly when you declare it, when you take that stand, when you step into this commitment, that the process of transformation starts accelerating. And from this point forward, there's an even deeper understanding that changes absolutely everything. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because after everything we've built together up to this point, there's one key element, maybe the most powerful of this entire journey. And it's simple, it's direct, but it's absolutely transformational, the decision. Because at the end of the day, it's all about this. It's about you making a conscious, non-negotiable decision that from this day forward, you no longer accept living a life below what God designed for you. And listen, this isn't just about desire, it's about alignment. It's about positioning yourself. It's about finally embracing the truth that the blessing of the Lord, like Proverbs 10:22 says, brings wealth and adds no sorrow with it. And let me be clear, this is not empty motivational talk. It's not some shallow self-help message. What we're talking about here is spiritual law, universal principles and a prosperous mindset, all working together in perfect sync, exactly the way God designed it. Because when you finally understand that prosperity isn't just about money, but about living in wholeness, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, everything starts to make sense. And then you realize that it's not about luck. It's not about being chosen or not. It's about understanding how the backstage of life works, how the principles that govern this reality operate, and making the conscious choice to step into that system. And yes, this has everything to do with what Napoleon Hill taught. He made it crystal clear. The human mind, when combined with faith, a burning desire, and discipline, becomes an unstoppable force. And here's what's amazing. The Bible teaches the exact same thing. In Mark 9:23, Jesus said, "If you can believe, all things are possible to the one who believes." Do you see how everything connects? How the truth has always I've been there, the clear, open, waiting for you to access it, to claim it. And this is exactly where most people get it wrong on their journey to prosperity. They think it's only about working more, doing more, hustling harder, when in reality, it all starts within. It starts in the invisible. It starts with the mental, spiritual, and emotional decision to align your life with the blessing, with truth, with your greater purpose. The prosperity that comes from the blessing doesn't show up for those who wait. It shows up for those who decide, for those who take a stand, for those who understand that faith is not passive. Faith is active. Faith is movement. Faith is life in motion. Napoleon Hill once said something that left a permanent mark on my journey. Indecision is the thief of opportunity. And if you stop and think, how many times have you let opportunities pass you by simply because you didn't make a decision, because you were stuck in doubt, in fear, in limiting beliefs, trapped in an old mental pattern that made you believe that prosperity, abundance, and success were things far away, difficult, or even forbidden for someone who has faith. But listen, that's a lie. And it's a lie that no longer fits in your story. From this moment on, it's about stepping fully into your new identity, the identity of someone who lives aligned with the blessing, who understands that Proverbs 10:22 is not just a beautiful verse, it's a spiritual decree, it's a code, a key, a principle that when activated, completely transforms your relationship with money, with prosperity, with success, and most importantly, with your God-given purpose in this world. If you've made it this far, it's because this message in some way resonated with you, right? And I need to tell you, that's not a coincidence. There's a reason you stayed until the end, listening to every word, reflecting, absorbing. That alone shows that you are committed to your transformation, to your prosperity journey, and most importantly, to this decision to live aligned with the blessing, the one that brings wealth and adds no sorrow, just like Proverbs 10:22 says. And if this content spoke to you, if it made sense, go ahead and hit that like button, because that helps me know that this kind of conversation has real value in your life. And more than that, it strengthens this community of people who, just like you, are seeking growth, alignment, and real transformation. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because that's exactly our mission here, to deliver content that helps you unlock your mindset, strengthen your faith, and apply in real life these principles that change lives. And trust me, if this message already brought you clarity, the next steps are going to take you even further. By the way, let me know down in the comments, just so I know you stayed with me until the end. Type, "I choose wealth without guilt." Go ahead, write it, because when you declare that, you're not just strengthening your own decision, you're also inspiring others who come across this space, people who, just like you, are ready to flip that switch and step into a new reality. And listen, don't stop here. There's a video right here on the side that perfectly complements everything we just talked about. Click on it and come continue this journey with me, because your transformation is just getting started. I'll see you there.